The wedding dress hung in Amira's closet like a ghost, silk the color of old bones, bought by a family that wasn't hers for a man she'd never met. "You should feel honored," her stepmother said, smoothing invisible wrinkles from the bedspread. Patricia's smile was sharp as broken glass. "The Park family chose you specifically." Amira's reflection stared back from the mirror, light brown skin that seemed to glow despite everything, dark coils pinned back severely, eyes that had learned to hide. At 28, she'd survived foster care, put herself through nursing school, and clawed her way to something resembling peace. Now Patricia, who'd married her father 2 years before his death, was cashing her in like a lottery ticket. "Naomi was supposed to marry him," Amira said flatly. "Naomi has opportunities." Patricia's tone could freeze fire. "A man like Jin Park needs someone manageable, someone grateful." The truth lodged in Amira's throat. Naomi, Patricia's biological daughter, had fled to Paris the moment she learned her arranged fiancé was paralyzed from a shooting. Left Amira holding the bag, the debt, the impossible choice between this marriage and watching Patricia sell their father's house, the only piece of him she had left. The Park estate sprawled across the hills like something from another world. Amira counted 7 buildings before the car stopped at the main house. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The interior was all dark wood and shadows, expensive and cold. A woman with silver streaking her black hair approached, Mrs. Park, Jin's mother. Her eyes swept over Amira like a medical examination. "Acceptable," she declared. "My son is in the East Wing, you'll meet him now." The hallway stretched endlessly. Their footsteps echoed. Mrs. Park spoke without looking back. "Jin was shot 6 months ago, 3 bullets, spine, shoulder, lung. The doctors said he'd never walk again." Her voice carried no emotion. "He's refused every caretaker, every nurse. Perhaps you'll manage better." "Perhaps he doesn't want to be managed," Amira said quietly. Mrs. Park stopped, turned. Something flickered behind her eyes, surprise, maybe respect. "That's why we chose a nurse. He needs care whether he wants it or not. This family needs an heir. You'll provide both." The door opened onto a room thick with tension. Books lined the walls, but the space felt more like a cage than a sanctuary. And there, by the window in a wheelchair, sat the man who'd become her husband in 48 hours. Jin Park turned his head, and Amira forgot to breathe. He was beautiful in a dangerous way, sharp jawline, dark eyes that cut through pretense, black hair falling slightly across his forehead. But it was the intelligence in his gaze that struck her, the way he assessed her like she was a puzzle he hadn't decided whether to solve or destroy. "So you're the replacement," he said. His voice was honey over razor blades. "The spare sister they dragged out when the real bride ran." Amira lifted her chin. "Dragged is accurate, though I'm not sure what makes Naomi more real than me." His eyebrow lifted. "Honesty, interesting." He rolled closer, and she forced herself not to step back. "Let me be honest, too. I don't need a wife. I don't need a nurse. I definitely don't need some American girl playing martyr in my house." "Good thing I'm not playing anything." Amira met his stare. "I don't want this marriage either, but Patricia has my father's house, and you," she gestured at the opulent prison around them. "You're apparently the price of keeping it." Something shifted in his expression. "Your father's house." "The only thing I have left of him. Patricia married him, drained his accounts while he was sick, and now she's using the house as leverage." The words tasted bitter. "So here I am, being sold off so my stepsister can model in Paris." Jin studied her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, he almost smiled. "At least you're not pretending to love me." "Would you prefer I did?" "I'd prefer you left, but there was less venom in it now. Since that's not happening, tell me, what's a nurse doing letting herself be auctioned off? You could work anywhere." Amira thought of her father's study, his books, the garden he'd planted. Some things matter more than logic. Family homes, memories, Jin's jaw tightened. Chains that look like sentiment. Says the man in the arranged marriage. "Touché." The door opened. A man entered, tall, tattooed, dangerous. His eyes locked on Amira with predatory interest. "Hi, young," he said to Jin, though his gaze never left her. I see you've met your bride. Pretty thing. Naomi was beautiful, but this one. Out Minyu. Jin's voice could cut steel. Minyu grinned. Just being friendly. We're all family now, right? He stepped closer to Amira. If my cousin doesn't appreciate what he's getting, I certainly. The crash made Amira jump. Jin had grabbed a book, hurled it with vicious accuracy at Minyu's head. His cousin dodged, laughing. Still got that arm, I see. Shame about everything else. Minyu's smile was cruel. 2 days, cousin, then we'll see if you can hold on to anything at all. He left. The silence screamed. Amira found her voice. What did he mean? Jin's knuckles were white on the wheelchair arms. When he looked at her, something raw flickered across his face. Fear, fury, calculation. It means, he said slowly, that you just walked into something much worse than an arranged marriage. Then tell me. The wedding is in 2 days. After that, his smile was terrible. Let's just say paralysis might be the least of our problems. Amira didn't sleep. She paced her assigned room, smaller than Jin's but still larger than anywhere she'd lived, and tried to make sense of the fragments. At dawn, she gave up and went exploring. The estate was a maze of buildings connected by covered walkways. She passed men in expensive suits who watched her with unsettling intensity, gardeners who wouldn't meet her eyes, and enough security cameras to monitor a prison. This wasn't just wealth. This was fortress living. She found Jin in a private gym, pulling himself between parallel bars with brutal determination. Sweat soaked his shirt. His arms shook with effort, but his legs hung useless beneath him. You're not supposed to be here, he said without turning. Your mother didn't give me a schedule. Amira stayed in the doorway. And you're going to tear your rotator cuff if you keep compensating like that. Not your problem yet. In 48 hours it will be. She stepped inside. What did Minyu mean yesterday? Jin's laugh was harsh. He lowered himself back into the wheelchair, chest heaving. You don't give up. I'm about to legally bind myself to you. I deserve to know what I'm walking into. He grabbed a towel, wiped his face. When he looked at her, the calculation was back weighing, measuring, deciding. My father built this empire, he finally said. Shipping, real estate, entertainment, all legitimate on paper, all connected to less legitimate operations underneath. He rolled toward her. When he died 8 months ago, leadership should have passed to me, but then I got shot, and suddenly I'm not fit to lead. Minyu wants control. Minyu and half the family council. They're waiting for me to fail to prove I'm too weak to hold the territory. His fingers drummed against the armrest. The marriage was my mother's idea. Show strength, show continuity, produce an heir, proof that I'm still viable. Amira's stomach turned. An heir, that's what she meant. That's why Naomi ran. Jin's eyes held hers. She was smart, you should have done the same. For a house. People have died for less in my world. He wasn't joking. The wedding makes you a target, Amira. Anyone who wants to hurt me will look at you first. She should run. Every instinct screamed it. But she thought of her father's garden, his books, the life he'd built for her before cancer ate him alive. And she thought of Patricia's smug face, Naomi's casual cruelty, the way they'd assumed she'd be grateful for scraps. Then we make a deal, she heard herself say. Jin's eyebrow lifted. What kind of deal? A real one. You need someone who won't run, who can play the role convincingly. I need my father's house free and clear. She crossed her arms. We do this marriage, I help you prove you're still capable of leading, and when it's done, when you're secure, you let me go. Annulment, divorce, whatever. And you pay off the house first. You'd risk your life for property. You're risking yours for power. At least I love what I'm fighting for. Something like respect flickered across his face. He was quiet for a long moment, then extended his hand. 1 year, you play the devoted wife, help me maintain control, and I'll buy the house outright. Put it in your name. When the year is up, you're free. Amira shook his hand. His grip was strong, warm. 1 year. And Amira, his voice dropped. When Minyu or the others come for you, and they will, you fight back. No mercy, no hesitation. Can you do that? She thought of the streets before foster care, the fights she'd learned to win, the armor she'd built around herself. Yes. Good, he almost smiled. Maybe you'll survive this after all. The wedding was a spectacle. Amira wore the bone-white dress and smiled until her face ached. Jin's family filled the hall, cold eyes, calculating stares, whispers behind designer fans. Patricia and Naomi were conspicuously absent, the house transfer already processed. At least that cage door had opened. Jin watched her from his wheelchair at the altar, expression unreadable. When they exchanged vows, his hand was steady on hers. The kiss was brief, formal, but his eyes held a warning. Now it begins. The reception was worse. Minyu appeared at her elbow the moment Jin was pulled away by family elders. Beautiful ceremony, he said, too close. Though I have to wonder, does he know? Amira's skin prickled. Know what? That his new wife has been asking questions, talking to the staff, poking around the east wing where she shouldn't be. His smile was poisonous. Curious behavior for a blushing bride. I'm a nurse, I notice things. Like the physical therapy schedule that doesn't match his supposed condition. Like the private doctors who visit at odd hours. Minyu's voice lowered. Like the fact that Jin's injuries are healing faster than they should. Her heart slammed against her ribs, but she kept her face blank. I don't know what you're talking about. No, he leaned in, breath hot against her ear. Then let me be clear. Whatever game my cousin is playing, whatever he's hiding, you're part of it now. And when it falls apart, you'll fall with him. He walked away, leaving her cold despite the crowded room. Amira found Jin an hour later in a private study. He was alone, staring at a photograph, a younger version of himself with an older man who had the same sharp eyes. Your father. Jin set the photo down. Minyu spoke to you. He thinks you're hiding something, that your injuries aren't what they seem. She closed the door. Are they? The silence stretched like wire about to snap. Jin's hands tightened on the wheelchair arms, and for a moment she saw something dangerous flash across his face, a predator deciding whether to strike or retreat. If I tell you, he said quietly, there's no going back. You'll know too much. You'll be in deeper than any contract can protect you from. Amira thought of Minyu's threat, the security cameras, the way everyone watched Jin like vultures waiting for weakness. She thought of the parallel bars this morning, the determination in every muscle. Tell me, she said. Jin looked at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, deliberately, he stood up. His legs held him, steady, strong, completely functional. I've been able to walk, he said, for 3 months. Amira's world tilted. She gripped the desk edge, watching Jin stand there, tall, powerful, every inch the man who should be leading an empire. You've been lying to everyone. Not lying, surviving. He took a step toward her, movements careful, controlled. The shooting was real, the paralysis was real, but my body healed faster than anyone expected, and I realized being underestimated is the greatest weapon I have. Her mind raced. Minyu, he'd take over if you were weak. Minyu, Uncle Chen, half the council members who think they can carve up my father's territory. Jin's jaw tightened. They're waiting for me to fail, to prove I can't lead. But while they're watching a crippled man in a wheelchair, I'm watching them, learning who's loyal, who's plotting, who needs to be removed. And I'm what? Your cover story. Your insurance. He moved closer, and she saw the calculation in his eyes. A wife makes me look stable, committed. A nurse wife makes the wheelchair story believable. And if things go wrong... I'm the distraction. Anger flared hot in her chest. The sacrificial piece. You agreed to play a role. I'm just telling you how deep the stage goes. Jin stopped an arm's length away. But you're right to be angry. I should have told you before the wedding. Should have. Amira's laugh was sharp. You married me under false pretenses, made me part of a lie that could get us both killed. Yes, no apology in his voice, just acknowledgement. But you're in it now, and Minyu already suspects something. We need to decide, do you run or do we finish this? She wanted to scream. She thought she understood the game, 1 year of pretending, then freedom. But this was different. This was espionage, assassination attempts waiting to happen, a powder keg wrapped in expensive suits. "What's the endgame?" she asked. "You can't pretend forever." 3 weeks. There's a family council meeting in Seoul where they'll vote on permanent leadership. I need to walk in there, healthy and strong, and take control before they can react. His eyes held hers. But until then, I'm vulnerable. They'll strike if they sense weakness. So I keep playing nurse to your invalid husband. And I keep you alive. Something shifted in his expression. That's not a line, Amira. You meant what he said. You're a target now. But if you stay close to me, if we're convincing, I can protect you. Like you protected yourself from 3 bullets. The words hung in the air. Jin's face went cold, distant. That was different. I trusted the wrong person. Who? My brother. The words came out flat, dead. Ji-hoon set up the meeting where I got shot, told the rival gang exactly where I'd be, what route I'd take. He wanted me dead so he could inherit everything. Amira's anger dissolved into something complicated. Where is he now? Missing, ran when the hit failed and I survived. Jin's hands clenched. But he's out there somewhere, and if he comes back. A crash shattered the moment. The window exploded inward in a spray of glass. Amira felt Jin grab her, yanking her down as something whistled overhead. They hit the carpet hard, his body covering hers. "Stay down," he hissed. More crashes, gunfire. The study door burst open and 2 of Jin's security rushed in, weapons drawn. Jin was already moving, rolling toward the overturned desk with Amira pressed against him, impossibly fast for a man who was supposed to be paralyzed. East approach, 3 shooters. 1 guard barked into his radio. Jin pulled Amira behind the desk. In the chaos, she saw him reach under a drawer, extract a gun with practiced ease, not the movements of an invalid. "The wheelchair," she whispered urgently. "You need." He understood instantly, released her, dropped back into the chair he'd left by the wall, schooling his features into shock and pain. By the time more guards flooded the room, he looked every inch the helpless victim. "Get my wife to safety," Jin ordered, voice shaking just enough. "Now." 2 guards pulled Amira toward the door. She looked back once and saw Jin in his wheelchair, surrounded by security, playing his role perfectly while glass glittered around him like diamonds. They took her to an underground bunker she hadn't known existed. Concrete walls, reinforced doors, enough supplies for a siege. Mrs. Park was already there, along with several family members, all looking more annoyed than afraid. "This is the 3rd attempt this month," one uncle complained. "We can't do business like this." "Perhaps if Jin weren't so insistent on maintaining control," another voice added. Amira recognized one of the council members. A strong leader would have ended this by now. Mrs. Park's face was stone. "My son is doing what's necessary." "Your son is dying slowly in that chair while our empire crumbles." This from an aunt Amira hadn't met. "Maybe it's time to consider alternatives." "You mean Minyu?" Mrs. Park's voice could freeze blood. "My nephew who coincidentally benefits from every attack on Jin." The room went silent. Amira's stomach dropped as she understood. Minyu wasn't just waiting for Jin to fail. He was making sure of it. Hours later, when the all-clear sounded, Amira was escorted back to Jin's wing. She found him in his room, still in the wheelchair, exhaustion etched in every line of his face. "Are you hurt?" he asked immediately. "I'm fine, you?" "Nothing serious." He rolled to the window, looking out at the darkness. That was a message. Minyu's getting impatient. "Your family was talking in the bunker. Half of them want you replaced." "I know." Jin's voice was hollow. "The council meeting can't come soon enough. 3 more weeks of this and there won't be anything left to inherit." Amira sat on the edge of his bed, suddenly exhausted. "Why are you really doing this? It can't just be about power." Jin was quiet for a long moment. "My father built something from nothing, came to Korea with nothing, created an empire through will and blood. Then Ji-hoon tried to tear it all down out of greed." He turned to face her. "If I let Minyu take over, if I let the family carve up everything my father built, it means Ji-hoon wins. It means the betrayal worked. It's not about the Empire, it's about your father. And my brother, and proving that loyalty still means something. His eyes met hers. Maybe that makes me a fool. It makes you human, Amira stood. For what it's worth, I don't think you're weak, paralyzed or not. Something softened in his expression. Thank you. She was halfway to the door when his voice stopped her. Amira, sleep in here tonight. The guest room isn't secure enough and he hesitated. I'd rather know you're safe. She should refuse, should maintain distance. But she remembered the gunfire, the glass, Minu's poisonous smile. Okay, she said. Jin nodded, started to transfer himself from wheelchair to bed, and Amira turned away to give him privacy. She heard the rustle of movement, the creak of springs. When she turned back, he was settled under the covers, looking more vulnerable than she'd seen him. She took the chair by the window, wrapped herself in a blanket. Sleep seemed impossible, but exhaustion pulled her under. She woke to Jin's voice, low and urgent in the darkness. Don't move.